I think this is your Hitchcock moment in Vanity Fair, right? This was a photograph that we did together with Steve Martin.
I walked up to his house when I was 13 years old and asked him for his autograph, and he said no, as he should, because I would call the police if people came to my house. And then I wrote him a letter saying, you know, if you don't send me an apology, I'm going to send your address to Homes of the Stars, and you're going to have tour buses passing by 24 hours a day. And then he sent me a book. And this is in 1980. Wow. And so it's 33 years ago. And in the book he wrote, "To Judd, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was speaking to the Judd Apatow." And I was 13, and it had a big effect on me because I felt like I made him laugh. I made him laugh enough for him to send me a book and write something funny in it. And so then we asked him if he wanted to photograph for the issue, and he said, "Oh, well, we should do it where I'm the tour guide and I'm bugging you." The best part of the day, though, was in order to get that attitude from Steve Martin, he was, pretending to be the tour guide. He started doing the voice that he does like in The Jerk. Yeah. And he doesn't really do that anymore, and so he just out of the blue just started going like, "Hey people, it's Judd Apatow's house." And just to watch him do that. It was the only time I really worked with him. I've only met him a few times. He's always very, very nice.
I had a similar experience with Henri Cartier-Bresson, who was like my hero, and that was like the first photograph I ever saw that affected me.
You guys have a thing about walking, you have a common bond about walking up to your idols at their homes.
Actually, this photograph here about Bresson is like, this is in the Tuileries Gardens. And this is the Louvre in the background, and I would always stay in this hotel, and little did I know that his apartment was like, if I would have turned around and pointed up, that's where he was. And so it was years later that I infiltrated his place and spent just a fantastic afternoon with him, and it was just like a dream come true. He was the only photographer.
Were you in his studio?
Yeah, I was in his apartment. He was getting ready to leave that afternoon on a trip, and it was just really an amazing thing. And after we had this meeting, we talked about drawing a lot, and he wrote something in it, and he would not tell me. I said, "What does it say?" And he said, "I'm not going to tell you." And I walked out on the street, and the first thing I stopped a person on the street, Rue de Rivoli, and I said, "What does this say?" And they said, "To Matt, in memory of a tormented afternoon." And I was just like, "That's it, man."
It was funny because I saw Judd gush and blush on our shoot when we went over to Carl Reiner's house.
Oh, that's right.
And Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks in the same house.
Well, they're best friends. I mean, they hang out together almost every night and watch movies and
eat.
And eat and
chicken.
Hey, chicken. Yeah, Mel Brooks is like, "I'll be back later with a sliced chicken," and but it's very sweet. I mean, they're both. Mel just turned 87, and Carl Reiner's 91, and they're both doing very well. They're really sharp and hilarious. Yeah, and they watch Breaking Bad together now. But that,
and hopefully girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ask them?
I don't know if I asked them. I don't know if that's
seen my new
on their thing
I'm working on.
But they're very sweet. But it's funny because you get older and you forget how many episodes of the Dick Van Dyke Show I watched as a kid, and everything Mel Brooks did was probably the first comedy film that I became obsessed with as a kid. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, all those movies came out when I was 7 years old. I think it like wired my brain. I don't even know how it happened. I just know that somewhere my brain was just building circuitry from watching these stories. Yeah. And also their compassionate way of telling stories. They're very humanistic, and there's very positive message behind everything that they did.
Right.
And that's what I always try to do even when we're doing kind of bawdy comedy, that there's really some heart to it and some ideas about how you should try to be as a human being in the movies.
Can you tell us about your 30-year marriage to Tom Waits in photography?
Well, basically, I was doing illustration, and I wanted to get into photography, kind of get out of my studio, out into the world. And so they'd called me, and they wanted me to do a painted portrait of him. But I thought, he wasn't with the label anymore, so I basically tracked him down, tracked through his manager, and said, if he lets me...
You do a lot of that kind of,
well, if he lets me,
just tracking people down.
Yeah, and there's somebody trying to track you down today, and track you down today, and track me down today.
Yeah, we're all tracking each other.
And they're going to get us. They're going to find us. But I said, if he comes over and he lets me photograph him, I'll let him approve the photograph. I was desperate and young and dumb and all that stuff.
That's a good trick.
Yeah, it worked out quite well.
Good job.
Almost 30 years later. And then this was a photograph I just took of him last summer when I was working on a music video for him on this a song called Hell Broke Loose, this anti-war song. This is a portrait for his wife, and her name is Kathleen Brennan, and so I put a KB brand in his neck. And so I'm coming kind of full circle to take this photograph. These are photographs of him, some live shots of him, which I've done over the years.
This is a great story where...
This is him playing the last note of the last song on a concert, and he's playing it with his pinky. And
his last finger.
Yeah, he's got glitter. He's got glitter on the top and his little crinkled notes. He's just an extraordinary person.
I have an interesting Tom Waits story, which is I put a song from that album you did the cover for, Alice, called I'm Still Here, in This Is 40. Powerful song, and it's a heartbreaker, and it was so powerful in the movie, and I had it in for all the previews, and then at some point I realized, like, it's too powerful for the moment. Like, it takes us to such a deep, dark place with how they feel about each other that I kind of can't get back from it.
Wow.
And it's one of my favorite songs of all time. It was like a heartbreaker to take it out. And I put in this Loudon Wainwright song that he sings with his son, Rufus Wainwright, called Days That We Die, which is all about arguing and when will it stop. But that's what happens with movies, is you just start like placing things.
That seems like such a lighter song too. Boy, that really worked out.
Exactly. Well, that's a dark song too.
Wow.
But you know, it's funny because you go like, but 10% too much, and I can't recover. How do you not kill each other? How do you get along with other people? And maybe if I felt like I resolved some of that, I would like add the other elements, but I don't think I ever will, because I'm so lost and spiritually lost. I don't have answers to anything that I love watching people try to figure it out.
You were going into a world where all the dysfunction, all the pain, all the stuff was like right there, and every cliche that I'd ever seen in a prison movie was there.